Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today we're discussing the Spies of the Custodes, their network amongst the Astartes. General spoiler warning to begin, as the events we're discussing today are from across the Warhammer 40k universe. So you have been warned. And with that said, let's just jump straight in. Now, quite a while back we discussed how the Adeptus Custodes came to the aid of the Imperial Fists. Not upon a battle zone, but instead providing the chapter with the opportunity to repair the Phalanx, and also the Imperial Fists' suspicions after. Now, back in the previous 8th edition, the Imperial Fists Codex supplement gave us some very intriguing information. In an act of rare solidarity, Custodes of the Shadowkeeper's shield host opened one of their dark cells and presented Vornhagen, the Imperial Fists chapter master, with secret technology that had been hidden deep within their vaults. They claimed it would perhaps give the Sons of Dawn a chance to restore their spiritual home and flagship to at least some of its former glory. As we know, this gift worked, remarkably so, restoring the Phalanx to a state not seen since perhaps Rogel himself bestrode its corridors. So, on the face of it, a tremendous and generous offer from the Custodes. However, this was then followed by a far more mysterious passage, one where Captain Lysander himself doubted the Custodes' intentions, with the chapter doubling all security checks and protocols on the crew after the repairs were completed. So let's just cover that again. The Imperial Fists, the Sons of the Praetorian, the Sentinels of Terror, and the chapter who famously stood upon the walls of the palace mistrusted the Custodes' intentions. The Imperial Fists, despite desperately needing and accepting the Custodes' offer, doubted their motives enough to enhance security checks on their own chapter crew in its aftermath. Something that seems absurd. These are the Emperor's own bodyguards we're talking about. There are no more loyal beings to the throne. However, therein lies both the problem and the answer. There are no more loyal beings than them, at least as far as they're concerned. And now it appears the Imperial Fists were not only right to suspect the Custodes, but we also have an idea how far their network goes. Within the current 9th edition Adeptus Custodes Codex, their actions are laid clear. In a passage speaking of the sheer breadth of security the Custodes provide across Terra, and the Sol system entire, we get this revealing information. The Custodes even planted spies in the work gangs cleansing the Imperial Fists' mighty star fortress Phalanx, after its escape from demonic invasion. Many other Space Marine chapters also have little idea that some of their serfs report to the 10,000 in secret. Now, I've got to say, putting my love for the Sons of Russ aside, if there was any chapter I had to place as the paragon of loyalty, of being one chapter who would never turn, well, it could well be the Imperial Fists. Yes, we're 10,000 years removed from the Siege of Terra. Yes, a lot can transpire during that time, but what a legacy these guys have. Their Primarch was the Praetorian. They were the ones who stood on Terra throughout the heresy. The sheer defiance they had in the face of the traitors was legendary, as was their sacrifice. And yes, you could name the fellow Siege of Terra defenders, the Blood Angels and White Scars with them, but the Imperial Fists just have that little something different for me. And you know how much I love the White Scars and Blood Angels. That's a testament, an honour that even Guilliman's Ultramarines can't match. So with all that in mind, it is hard to argue the Custodes were right in their actions here. If any chapter of the Astartes throughout the history of the Imperium had done enough to prove their loyalty beyond any measure of doubt, honestly for me, surely it was the Imperial Fists. But that's just it to the Custodes. They are still Astartes. Regardless of all the plaudits, regardless of all their history, regardless of the legend crafted by their Primarch as the Praetorian, they are and always will be Adeptus Astartes. The Custodes stood by the Emperor's side long before the Astartes came to be, long before their Primarchs were even created. They were there when the legions were birthed into being. They were there when Horus, the first found, and he was the first found, was reunited with the Emperor. They were there when the Great Crusade conquered the stars. And they were there when the Primarchs and their legions betrayed everything they stood for. They were there when Horus Lupercal spent 50 years alone by his father's side. They were there when Horus proved beyond any measure of doubt that he and his legion were the greatest, the best, the most loyal. And they were there when Horus betrayed them all. Quite simply, the Lunar Wolves, the sons of Horus, were loyal, the paragons of loyalty, until they decided not to be. With that one action, the Primarchs, the Astartes, proved they are never worth trusting again. Yes, there were those who stood loyal. Yes, there were those who faced the traitors. But if Horus could fall, the very best of them, the very best of the Primarchs, the very best of the legions, regardless of our own biases, then they all could. Thanks to the sons of Horus, on that one fateful day, in that one fateful decision, they proved to the Custodes that trust is a gift that can never be given again. It isn't a blemish on the Imperial Fists chapter that the Custodes infiltrated them with spies. In fact, maybe quite the opposite. It's probably a sign of how singularly the Custodes hold them, by even offering their aid to repair the Phalanx. Because let's focus on that aspect. If the Custodes truly thought the Imperial Fists were likely to turn traitor, they would never in a million years help them repair the Phalanx, the most powerful vessel in the Imperium entire. Yet not only did they, but they also opened secrets from perhaps the most closely guarded and secured prison in the galaxy to do so. Honestly, you've probably got more chance of breaking into the Black Library than the custodian guarded cells below the palace, where it's teased even a lost Primarch is held captive. And yet, despite this level of security, the Custodes bestowed a technology held here to the Imperial Fists chapter. I am willing to bet the Imperial Fists chapter are the only chapter within the Astartes entire, over the Blood Angels and over the White Scars, over Guilliman's Ultramarines and over my beloved Space Wolves, who could have and would have received this blessing from the Custodes. I mean, heck, Trajan Valoris assigned Tribune Colquhoun specifically to be the Custodes' liaison with the Lord Commander, because Colquhoun had a clear distrust for the Primarch and the Astartes. Yes, the Custodes infiltrated the Phalanx crew with spies. They have a network as stated across many chapters throughout the galaxy. They would do that to every chapter if they could. Quite simply thanks to the heresy, they have to. However, they would never have opened the cells beneath the palace to any chapter other than the Imperial Fists, the Sentinels of Terror. At least in my opinion. That shows at least the degree of respect they hold the chapter in, if even they can't completely trust them, thanks solely to the actions of their traitor kin. So the custodian network spreads far and wide. The truth of the chapters they have infiltrated, a mystery hopefully to be revealed another day. I think it's quite common to think of the eyes of the Emperor as the sole source of the Custodes' intelligence. The now unfit for duty custodians who depart the order to fulfill the rest of their time as informants amongst the stars. However, it's clear the entirety of the 10,000 organization is engrossed in this manner of subterfuge. Indeed, what better way to protect the Emperor than to stop the threats before they even reach the Sol system? I always loved the thought of a former custodian walking around the Imperium wearing a fake moustache, trying to play himself off as a former militarum soldier or officer. However, the truth is these guys can't hide amongst the people. And wherever they go, they still carry a huge weight of authority, for they will forever represent the throne itself. They can't hide the fact they used to be and still are custodians. And while it's unlikely these individuals are able to infiltrate their networks into the Astartes chapters, they undoubtedly provide invaluable information from across the Imperium systems. Aside from the Codex, the absolute best sources for Custodes information are absolutely the Watchers of the Throne and the Vaults of Terror series, where we get a real in-depth glimpse into the workings of the 10,000. It's been a while since I read them, so I think I might re-dive into them soon. Definitely some of Chris Wraith's best series for my mind, especially the Watchers of the Throne series. But I'll leave you all with these questions. Like me, do you think the Imperial Fists are the one chapter who would have received this gift of the Dark Cells? And what other chapters out there do you think the Custodes would have infiltrated? Considering the Imperial Fists are one, rather than obscure chapters with hazy reputations, should we instead be looking at more prominent names, such as the Ultramarines and the rest of the First Founding? As always, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. If you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too? With that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.